Becoming immediately drawn into the niche world known as Wheel World was initially exciting, not because it was stylish or even particularly immersive. No, what caught my attention was how it captured the essence of biking culture, a feeling that's hard to put into words unless you've spent some time riding through the countryside, along back trails, or out on summer roads. Think of it like this: you're somebody running down the street or biking, and you spot somebody else doing the same. This should fill you with competition. You want to become faster than them and be number one, no matter what it takes, and that fuels your drive to go faster and try harder. It's a wonderful game that leaves you craving more gameplay, but on the other hand, it also makes you desire more polish, more balance, and of course more duration, as short-lived as it was. The story centers on a world overtaken by greed. The corporation known as Cyclorp moves into the countryside, swallowing up landmarks, raising towered structures, and erasing what was once a thriving ecosystem of biker groups. The friendly races down the mountainsides and across the open fields vanish as the land fades to green, which is all an allegory for the financial focus on money and less about community. You follow a young girl named Kat who awakens beside a sewer where a spirit of biking nature is still lingering, untouched by the corruption of Cyclorp. In this world, Cyclorp is draining these spirits for power to fuel their prototype bike that they plan on using as an unlimited fuel source that is warping everything it touches. With the last spirit's guidance, Kat sets out to find the 5 remaining biking gods, essentially the best riders in the country, in order to rebuild a bike strong enough to challenge Cyclorp's artificial creation, ridden by the legendary biker Tom. When you hear the story out loud, it doesn't make much sense, and that would be correct as it doesn't go far, and by the ending it never feels all that engaging or meaningful as it was just too short. From getting stuck on terrain to losing balance after clipping a car, wall, or even being launched into the air, the gameplay is often extremely frustrating. You will lose control of your bike consistently regardless of your handling, whether it's from being shoved around by the enemy AI bikers that you get stuck on, or from bumping into random boxes on the road. The AI itself does little to challenge you outside of these artificial hurdles. Imagine hitting cardboard boxes on the street and suddenly being hurled into a building for no reason whatsoever. You are constantly fighting for control, and in seconds the bike slips out of your grasp. While the game has this oddly satisfying feel to it, that isn't enough to offset the long stretches of silence in the overworld. It feels like there was only a 10% chance that you'll hear any of the game's fantastic soundtracks, since most of the music only kicks in when you join a race. This is not a huge problem, as races are fairly close together and doesn't take too much to get to, but it still feels like missed opportunity. For a game that offers such a surprisingly strong soundtrack of chill, upbeat songs, why not let them play more often? Most of the game offers a minimal design, with a bright countryside contrasted against the diluted monochromatic green cityscape. It does a solid job of capturing both sides of the theme of freedom versus corporate entanglement. And you feel like fighting for your freedom is worth the effort as you band together with all of the biker groups to unlock more bike parts and styles to have a fighting chance of freeing this world from the legendary biker after he lost his soul to the company. The soundtrack here is again hands down a joy to listen to, and easily is the biggest highlight of the game. Tracks like Free Fall into the Unknown beg to be put on repeat, but as mentioned, with the issues, you are lucky to hear any of them at all. You see, the game does not include a radio station, a Walkman, or a music player, so all of the songs play at random and often cycle the weakest tracks while reserving the best for boss races. It doesn't work in the game's favor since those races aren't challenging to begin with. It makes the whole thing feel like it was designed to reward you with this music as a motivator for progressing through the game with each course. These course designs feel messy, cluttered, with boxes and obstacles that turn every corner into a hair-trigger input from losing control and slamming into a platform or structure. It comes across like it needs more refinement because instead of feeling rewarding, a win ends up feeling like you just tolerated the frustration long enough for it to finally be over. Outside of each race, you have the ability to customize your bike through the in-game menu, mixing parts and stats to create something personal both visually and with some altered controls. But this quickly falls away when acquiring the Gigabike and the Legendary Bike, both of which look like unpolished bootleg Tron knockoffs with little design effort put into them. On top of that, they weren't all that good when it came to their stats and performance over the basic parts. The game has a great soundtrack and the occasional nice vista, but in the end it feels like the world is too empty and devoid. You could argue this is intentional, tied to the corporation and the loss of spirits, but that comes off as more of a weak excuse that brings down the experience. So your main goal will be to revive the spirits of biking, which has you riding across the overworld in search of their shrines. These shrines gradually open up more of the world, revealing all of the new races and events that are nearby. Along the way, you will also find more bike parts that can be swapped out and combined with others to increase, once again, your stats when needed for certain races. This is crucial for tracks that demand higher speed, tighter handling, or a stronger aerial control. I expected something more open and interactive, with stronger cinematics and story. Instead, it turns into a slightly unpolished grind for reputation, with increasingly more bizarre layouts and cars that come out of absolutely nowhere, swinging between moments of immersion when the music hits and long stretches of silence when searching for the next event. The pacing struggled to keep the momentum alive in a world about biking through the open fields, and once you're actually in a race, it isn't all that grand when you really think about it. It's mostly just chill. In the end, it feels like Wheel World had a lot of untapped potential, and while it can still scratch the itch for relaxation and biking enjoyers, once you get past the initial tutorial area, the gameplay feels quite underdeveloped, recycling the same events and quests in silence, while forcing you to fight finicky controls and awkward interactions that simply strip the fun out of nearly every moment. So after about 4 hours, it's over, and most of that time is spent riding around in silence. The other half is carried entirely by the soundtrack, the one element that truly holds everything together. To put it more bluntly, the soundtrack costs almost as much as the game itself, and honestly, I get more out of the soundtrack than replaying the game, which offers nothing beyond a single playthrough. This alone says everything about how little the game leaves you with, feeling like a $4 game with a $15 soundtrack.